Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with TP-Link. Today's host is Camelia Hagigat. She is our territory account representative, and she'll be presenting today. Glenn Lenore is also on the line to perhaps interject and help with questions at the end. And of course, everybody knows if you have any questions, please submit them in the question box so that Camelia and or Glenn can answer them. Camelia, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm greatly appreciative of your time and we're looking forward to your presentation. I am finished for now, so please go ahead and take it on over.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everybody. As Julie mentioned, my name is Camelia Hagigat. You can call me Cam. So today I'd like to talk to you guys about a couple of different revenue generation opportunities with our Omada controller. To start, I'll just go over what Omada is in case you were not in attendance for our first webinar. So Omada is very akin to Unify. It is a software-defined network management system. So in this system, we have switches, access points, and routers, all of which that can be managed under our management portal. So a little example, just so that you get an idea of what it looks like. This is what it will look like. Obviously, these are only a couple products, but to give you an idea, if you've used Ubiquiti's Unify, you'll find Omada to be a very intuitive platform and setup for you to utilize. So today we'll go over the controller. Within the controller, I'll start to discuss a couple different opportunities and ways to creatively utilize the controller to create recurring monthly revenue. So I've already logged in. When you log into the controller, just for reminder's sake, I'll show you. This is the login page. Once you put in your TP-Link ID and email, you will log in and you'll get to this page. So this page is where you see all your controllers, right? So right now I have a demo controller pulled up. So once you click in here, you will open your demo controller, which is here. So this is the dashboard of our controller. It gives you a lot of information. On here, you can also edit it to give you information that is most prevalent to your use case. Some want to look at ISP load, some may be focused on VPN, you might be focused on most active APs. So there's a lot of flexibility for you to utilize this platform to your best benefit. With the transition to Omada, it's, again, like I said, very intuitive. I didn't come from this industry. I actually came from the world of biology. So when I first started here, I knew nothing about networking. And even in that time, I found this a very intuitive platform to utilize. Since I've had quite a few customers move over from Ubiquiti, and they've shared the same sentiment. It's a very intuitive platform to utilize. But as I know, most of you are here to learn how you can make more money with this platform. So the idea is, right, that most people pay for services so that it reduces their own mental load, whether it be something small or large. So on here, you have a couple of different options, right? One is you get a bunch of different statistics. And in these statistics, you can look at your switch. This is my favorite part of this controller. So when looking at your switch statistics, you can do a couple of different things. So say you're installing cameras for your end user, and you're utilizing our switches with the cameras. Now say that you know your camera transmits 5 megabytes per second of data when it's functioning well. And if there's if data transmission is below 5 megabytes per second, you know that the camera is probably not offering a very strong signal and might be cutting in and out. Prior to having a management system, what you would have to do is either send yourself out or send a tech out to check on the problem after being notified by the customer or checking the controller. That being said, time is money, money is money. So if you can do this remotely, all the better. And then if you can do this without the customer ever knowing, even better then. And so what you can do with the Omada controller is you can create a threshold. So say, like we said, 5 millibytes per second is the threshold. If data transmission goes below that number, you can set up an alert in the alerts tab, in the logs tab, right? You can set up an alert to let you know, hey, this port data transmission has gone below X amount of data. By doing this, you can catch the problem before the customer ever knows and fix it. So say most of the time something like that happens, you just need to reboot a port, right? Or you might note that the port is no longer connected. So say port 21 is where that camera is connected. On port 21, if you see no data transmission, no connection, then you know maybe the cable just disconnected in the IDF room. All you need to do is call the customer or their on-site tech and tell them to plug that back in. Now say it is plugged in, but data rates are still below 5 millibytes per second. Then what you can do is you can reboot the port remotely and ensure that the customer never knows. This is a form of management that you could charge $2 a month for. It's not a large amount of money, but because there's so many features and add-ons that you can offer, it compounds. So say you charge for this $2 a month, you charge for something else, $5, something else, $3. By the end of it, usually a customer will pay about an average of $30 a month for the management services that you provide. This is a twofold opportunity. One is that, again, you get that monthly recurring revenue. Another is that the customer's quality of service is higher because they never see the issues that might arise in the back end. Now, another way you can utilize this platform to create more net revenue is with the reporting tab. So in the reporting tab, you get a bunch of different statistics that you can also customize the time frame for. You can do 30 days, 7 days. Most customers, I recommend a 30-day. And with that 30-day data, obviously, because this is a demo, we don't have as much data, but with a full-fledged system, you would have a lot more data. So this looks very well put together, correct? And so what you can do here is all you need to do is download the PDF. You can charge the customer for monthly reporting so that they can see how their network is going without actually giving them full access to the controller, which we know if we give them access, a lot of times they'll mess something up for us. So instead, you can create this summary report. Now, this summary report, you can charge, I don't know, $7, $8, depending on your pricing structure. It looks very well put together, and it looks like you put a lot of time to send this information out over to them. Again, it would be more filled out in a full-fledged system. And this took you about, as you see, it took me 1 minute to download, probably another minute to send off. So the idea here, right, when we're talking about any of these things is about how to be creative with our controller. Because I have full confidence that utilizing our controller in our system is the easiest part. It's being creative about how to utilize our system to increase revenue that most often I've seen the opportunity hasn't been taken full advantage of. Because most often it's very difficult to increase and create new streams of revenue, since that requires often a capital investment that most don't feel comfortable making at any given point in time. And it takes much longer to see the ROI on that, 6 to 8 months, which can be a difficult thing for most people. So with the controller, it's a very low investment, but a very high ROI. And so on the same topic of reports and simplification, you can also, if you utilize our cloud controller has an option called zero touch provisioning. So with the cloud, yes, there is licensing, but licensing is very cost effective. It's $9.99 per device per year, which averages out to about 75 cents a month. That being said, with only one feature being dubbed as a monthly recurring option, you would already cancel out more than enough of that fee. And for us, it's not a fee that we make any money on, it's just to offset our costs for hosting on AWS. But why I tend to push the cloud is because zero touch provisioning allows you to order the products and send them still wrapped up to your location. So say you live in location X and your customer's installation location is 5 hours away, 6 hours away. Again, usually either you'd have to fly out, someone from your team would have to fly out, or a high level tech would need to be contracted to get that installation going. With zero touch provisioning, you can utilize the serial numbers to upload your devices. So if we go on here, you can add devices utilizing a serial number. And so you can put in as many serial numbers as you need, and you can also name your devices. And in doing this, all you need to hire is a basic level tech who knows how to read a map of how to plug in all the devices into that location. Once the devices are powered on and plugged in and online, you will be able to auto-adopt them since the serial numbers have already been entered. To go even a step further, you can pre-provision the devices before they ever go online. And so once they're online, they will be force provisioned with the configurations that you've already set. So in this way, you're increasing revenue by decreasing overhead costs, because what previously would have required many moving parts is now a much simpler setup. Another thing I think is very cool about this aspect of it is that if you do standard installations across, say you're doing, 100 offices across the US, and for all those, let's say they're dental offices or something of the likes, for all those offices, the same base configuration is necessary, right? In past, you would have to configure each office independently, even though all the base configurations are the same. In our case, what you can do is you can download the configuration data of any given device, and then that serves as a template. So you can save the templates from the first site that you create and upload them to every new site. So instead of reconfiguring the base configurations every time a new site is launched, all you need to do is upload the templates, and it will auto configure to the preset conditions in those templates. So there are two ways, I guess we can say, you increase your revenue through Omada. One way is by decreasing overhead costs. The other is by creating recurring revenue through monthly fees. So we can go into here. I'll talk about a couple other very interesting configuration options. So with authentication, this is one of the places where you could arguably make the most money through recurring revenue. If any of us has been to a Marriott hotel, a Hilton hotel, you'll know that when you log into the Wi-Fi, a portal pops up for you. And in that portal, you'll have to log in with the special room number and last name, password, whatever it might be that is required of you. So with Omada, you can also do the same thing. With companies like Marriott, what they tend to do is they utilize a Radius server. And so a Radius server is essentially an authentication server that auto creates temporary username and passwords based on a backend data input from the hotel. So in this option, you have two ways about going about it. You create a new portal, say, let's call it test, right? You choose the network that you want it to be on, and you can create the authentication time. So let's say every 8 hours. You can even do custom. So say if it's a restaurant or a cafe, you could say every 2 hours. You could also create a daily limit. All of these levels, by the way, are things that you can charge for. And so when you come in here, you can customize the portal. With that, if they don't use a Radius server, what you can do is create a PPSK portal that I will show you in another page. Essentially, what this does is you say how many logins you want to create, and it will auto-create or auto-generate a list of those logins. So say this is great for a restaurant, for example, where they want to post the login information on the receipt of the customer. That way, it's one-time use for each customer, it's on their receipt, and then they don't have to utilize the complexity of a Radius server, which most often in a restaurant environment or that of the likes, they will not be utilizing. So when you come into portal customization, this is the standard. You can choose a picture, add the logo, position it, etc., etc. There are many things that you can enter here, including their terms of service. And this is one of the biggest places where this can be a charge fee to have this monthly for the customer. But what's interesting is you can do this, you make money on this twice, right? One is charging the client to run their captive portal for them. The other is that you can also utilize third-party advertising on your portal, and you can charge the advertising company a percentage fee for hosting their ads on the portal for any given duration at your discretion. Right? So now you're making an income or a revenue from the customer themselves who are asking for the portal, and you can make more revenue from deals with advertisers who would like to advertise in that space. Let's see what else is very interesting in here. So just so we can go back to the port management, you can create a reboot schedule for your port management. You can also create a port schedule. Basically, this is just the space in which you create those configurations and those limits for your switch to manage their camera or devices. With that, that's a level of management that's more standard. That's something that we'd probably not charge too much for. But if they want to utilize a bunch of different base level management features, that tends to add up. For customers that have utilized this, it ends up being a great way for them to increase their revenue. And like I said, that averages out at about $30 a month that you're charging the customer, more so if they need anything more complex. And then if you think about with each location or each customer, that you're managing, that number quickly and exponentially grows. Also, if they're using IPTV, you can create an IPTV protocol. This is also something that can be charged for. Again, a basic level feature, but something that they can't live without. So the way we usually think about this is, what features can they not live without, and how can I monetize on that? Now, it's a fine line of monetizing on it versus overcharging where they don't buy it, but because our hardware is so cost effective and cost competitive, you have a lot more room to play. And then you can even fit in those hardware fees into a monthly recurring revenue. So instead of charging them a base installation and hardware fee, what you can do is charge a lease fee. I'm not sure if many of you do leasing, but our Omada hardware has a 5-year warranty, and leases tend to not go above 5 years. It's 3 to 5 years. So on our end, you're covered. If the device gives out, then you have the opportunity to replace it. That being said, our RMA rate is so low. It's, I think right now, and Glenn, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about 0.5% at the moment, so very low. That being said, by leasing the devices, you can also capture that monthly fee and revenue, because instead of paying for the hardware all in one, you incorporate that cost into your monthly recurring revenue, which opens them up to be more interested in other monthly service fees. Because at the end of the day, what is management? It's to remove the mental load from the end user. And then it's a perceived mental load, because just say for us in a normal day-to-day basis, my ISP that does the Wi-Fi in my home, why do I allow them to charge me more? Because they reduce my mental load by taking care of issues on the back end. Then I enter the Wi-Fi space and I realize maybe it's not that complicated to do those things, but I still end up paying those fees. And why? Because it's a headache that I don't have to deal with. And it's the same idea in this case. It's a headache that they don't have to deal with, but once you're well versed in our controller, you'll realize it's a headache that you barely have to deal with either. And it becomes a very easy song and dance. It's a very easy way to manage, and it's a very simple way to manage. And what I love about this controller too is, say you don't know about how to do something, all you have to search is a keyword and it will tell you exactly where to go, right? So you can search devices. It will tell you anything that says devices. So in that way too, it helps you help yourself. That being said, we can always do a full live demo that looks at all the features available on here. The reason why I haven't done this today is because there are so many features that will be quite overwhelming. What I like to do is, when a partner is interested in utilizing our controller in this way, we can do a live demo with you. That way we can get a gauge of what specifically you are looking to do and what industry and segment you best serve. And we can focus on the features available to serve your industry versus saying, here's 100 different ways you can do this, and letting you figure out, well, through trial and error, which is best fit for you. Because once we help you out in that initial stages, it becomes very intuitive and easy for you to utilize. Usually in past with customers, we've done, one or two projects in the beginning in which we really hold their hand. Sorry for that noise, that was my cat. We really hold your hand, and rightfully so, because we want to guide you in the right direction. And then after that, they tend to be very self-sufficient and will even come to us and give us ideas that we might have not thought of us at first. Now, the last feature that I would like to talk about is the heat mapping. So this is a twofold topic. One is you can look at your topology. So say a customer is insisting that they're not getting Wi-Fi in a certain part of their office. The first thing you would look at is right here to see, is everything linked? So you can look at the link labels that tell you all the information, but also you can see if, hey, did this access point, so imagine this is a more fully fledged system and we have 5 access points in this area, right? Imagine that this is the access point that's set up in the location that they're looking for, and you see the link is broken. Then again, you know that it has something to do with the connection between the access point and the switch. Now, it could be something so simple like replugging it in. It could be, that the cable wore. But then again, at least you know that it's something of that nature and not something more complicated than that. Another thing is we have our heat mapping feature. And so with our heat mapping feature, this is from my live demo the other day. But essentially what you can do in here is, customers tend to tell us, hey, no, we need more access points, or no, we don't need that many access points. But at the end of the day, you're the expert. It's why you were hired to come in and help them set up their system. And so instead of having this back and forth of whether or not X amount of devices should be present, what you can do is you can heat map the location and show them precisely why you as the expert made the decisions you did. We found that utilizing this feature just allows you a lot more peace of mind and allows you to be more efficient in your discussions and your conversations. This heat map feature is also available on our website as a standalone if you're not using the Omada controller. But with the Omada controller, essentially what you do is you upload a blueprint, right? And then I just randomly place these access points, but these access points are randomly placed. You can edit it, and what's good about this is you can add devices that are virtual that maybe you don't already have in your system. So anything that we offer, you can add in. You just click the US and then add in those devices, right? And so once that is done, you can also add in walls, because as we know, walls impact Wi-Fi strength. And so in this case, I added some brick walls in here. We can say we added, wooden, something wooden, maybe we put it right here. Just for testing sake. Ignore my lack of strong lines. But we have this in and we click done. Now you can simulate this, right? To show the customer why or why not in your design process. So this is on 2.4. You can also test on 5 on the first band and second band, and you can adjust your receiver sensitivity. We like to keep it at about -67. It's a pretty solid baseline point. And so in doing this, you can offer the customer concrete. I mean, everything that you say is concrete proof, but sometimes people need visual proof of what you're trying to say and what they can't conceptualize in their mind. And so in doing it this way, you're able to just reduce the headache for yourself. And also, you're able to ensure that for yourself, the system is well positioned and well put together, so that you don't have to deal with any potential fallout or headaches that may occur with, a system that hasn't been designed to its full capacity. So the last thing I'll mention is you can also charge to, it's difficult to show this because we don't have any clients on the system, but you can also charge to rate limit and block certain clients. So if you have, say a customer, let's say it's a restaurant again, and they have somebody that comes in and freeloads all the Wi-Fi all the time, and so they want to limit the download and upload speed a person may get. So they can click that address. Either they can do it full-fledged or they can do it by individuals, and they can create a limit. So even if you have 5 gig speed, right, in like ISP speed, theirs could be reduced to 200 millibytes, 20 millibytes, depending again on the situation. Some places are cafes that allow them specifically for internet, so you might have a higher speed, but generally it's about 20, 30 uplink downlink that people will utilize. This also can be positioned to your partner saying, hey, let's say it's a restaurant, hey, with this limit, we with this feature, if you choose to opt in, we can help you move business through your cafe more quickly, because people will stay forever if the Wi-Fi is fast and strong enough for their needs. But if it's just strong enough for them to connect, but not strong enough for them to do everything that they need, they tend to turn over faster, which allows the business to bring in more customers and again, increase their revenue. So it's a little bit of a domino, right? A chain link of how each player can increase their revenue depending on how they're positioned. And that's everything that I have to say today. I thank you guys for your time, and I thank you, Julie, for setting this up, Julie and David. If you guys have any questions, I'm ready to take them.
Thank you so much, Camelia, for that wonderful presentation. And it looks like I do have some questions for you. So let's get started with the first one. Here we go. First question. Can you tell us about what security measures are in place to protect data in the TP-Link Omada cloud?
Okay, so our TP-Link Omada cloud is hosted on AWS. If you're asking about how the cloud data itself is protected, or the security on that, it's very highly secure. It's as secure as anything else that is hosted on AWS. In terms of security features for the network, we have a couple different VPN options that you can utilize to your leisure depending on what you're trying to do. So you have SSL VPN, which you create a virtual IP pool, your primary and secondary, and you choose a port that you want to listen on. You can say local or radius authentication. This is what I was talking about, whether you have a local server or you're utilizing the authentication features of radius. And you can also come in here. You can create some VPN policies, site to site or client to site. And we have either auto IPsec VPN, or you can create a manual. This level of information, if you want to inquire on more detailed actually setting it up, I would recommend having a follow-up meeting with us where I can bring in an engineer, as this is going into territory that's a little bit very technical and can vary in many ways depending on your application scenarios. But in terms of the controller itself is very secure. We haven't had any data breaches in our history that I know of. And then with VPN, we have a couple of different options in here too to ensure that the data is well protected. You can also do things like port isolation to ensure that data is segmented. You can also utilize VLANs to ensure that data is segmented. So say you want the camera system to be separate from the access control system, to be separate from the public network system, or the public network to be separate from the internal office network. All of that can be done through VLANing, which essentially takes the physical space of the LAN port and segments it in the virtual space into multiple pieces that are completely closed off to one another, but come from the same ISP connection. I hope this
Excellent. Thank you. Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Camelia. Next question here for you. Can you tell us how TP-Link Omada Cloud handles firmware updates and maintenance tasks?
So with Omada Cloud, it's the same as any of our other controllers. You know, firmware updates, I would never recommend updating the firmware automatically. I think doing any auto updates can just give you a little more headache than it's worth. But for the most part, I haven't really had customers complain about firmware updates. I'll never promise you something that I can't keep. So I'll say that technology is finicky at times, and firmware updates can sometimes give you issues. That being said, you can download all your configurations. So say if such a thing were to happen, you can re-upload all your configurations within 5-10 minutes. So you don't have a issue of your system going offline for an extended period of time. And we would also recommend that with firmware updates to do them at a low traffic time. You can schedule it. So I wouldn't recommend making it auto update every time, but you can schedule it. So say you want to update once a month, you can go and schedule here on Tuesday that month. That morning you say Tuesday at this time, 2 a.m. I want to update these devices, and then it will go through the update, and you can be notified before anyone wakes up or can utilize the system to know if there were any hitches. That being said, if there even is a hitch, in that you have my contact information, and I'm sure you already have Glenn's, you can reach out to us and we can get one of our engineers on it right away, and they can help clarify that for you. Make sure that everything is working the way it should be.
Thank you so much for that, Camelia. Appreciate it. I'm going to go on to the next question. Can you tell us what is the role of quality of service in TP-Link Omada Cloud?
So quality of service, Glenn might be able to better answer this, but quality of service is essentially, you know, like when someone is playing a high resolution video game, they need high quality of service to ensure that there's no lag time in their game, because people, especially people who compete in these video game tournaments, even a 0.5 second lag, a 1 second lag. I'm so sorry, my dog and cat are fighting in the background, but a 0.5 second lag, a 1 second lag could mean losing the competition. Same idea with businesses. They might have a very important task to do, but if not handled well, will or if not handled within the right time frame, will time out. So using quality of service, you can ensure that the lag time is minimized or to almost nothing.
Yeah, and to follow up on Cam's question, yeah, QoS absolutely for gaming, but also for like voice over IP, for quality of service for phone systems. People want to be making sure their phone systems are working. We do have that protocol available on the settings service on Omada, so they have to ensure that. But normally, like updated phones will have already a QoS already established, and all our switches do follow that protocol. So it's not a question if it does support it, it is, but if we need to enhance it, we can.
Thank you so much, Camelia and Glenn. Appreciate it. A couple more questions for you. The next one here is, how does TP-Link Omada Cloud contribute to the overall cost effectiveness of network management?
Do they want to expand on the question a little bit? Because we can go many different directions with that question.
That's all I have. If unless they chime in right away, that's what they typed in the question box. So you can answer that however you like. I give you the liberty to do that.
So we have a couple ways.
Okay.
One is that as a vendor, we take a unique approach to creating our hardware. So on a base level, we're vertically integrated, which means that we're way less susceptible to economic and market volatility, which means we have a lot more control over our cost structure. So that is why we're able to price ourselves at the way that we do, because we don't utilize a sub-network of manufacturers. We have a manufacturing plant for every part of our product. The other part is with Omada Cloud, or even our other options. So our cloud or our controller comes in 3 forms. It comes in a software that you can host on your own laptop or your own desktop, and then it comes with in a hardware where the software is hosted in a hardware controller, as in, you know, the OC200. And then you can also use the cloud. So what's great about this is that the hardware and the software have no licensing fees. That being said, they do have limitations in either number of clients or number of number of network devices that they can have online and controlled by the controller at any given time. And they don't offer zero-touch provisioning. With the cloud, you have an unlimited amount of devices that can be managed through it, but there is a license fee. So with that being said, A, you have license-free options, should that be a better fit for your business structure. And B, even with the cloud that does have licensing, it's only $9.99 per device per year, which, you know, the average competitor has I think the lowest one I've seen thus far has been $39.99 per device per year. So it's about 3 times more expensive than what TP-Link offers, because as we said, most people are making money off of their cloud fees. For us, it's just to offset our AWS costs. And if you're curious as to why, it's because we want management to be available to many. You know, for too long, management has been segregated to the top of the top, and only people who could afford the exorbitant prices. But management is something that many can benefit from, and we wanted to make that accessible to all. I hope that answers.
Camelia, yes. Oh, terrific. Thank you. Camelia and Glenn, thank you guys so much for answering those questions for us today. And also thank you to everyone for attending our webinar. And if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown, or the demonstration that was shown today, please know that this webinar presentation recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel, so we can all view it again if you'd like. Thank you again, Camelia and Glenn. Appreciate your time and this wonderful presentation. Everybody have a fantastic day.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate your guys' time to sit in on this.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And I'll reach out so we can do this again in a couple of months and see what else we could cover at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye now.